All right, everybody. I'm Michelle. Thank you so much for joining me today. We've got Mike Livingston here with us. I'll get it right eventually, Mike.
Oh, one of these days, we're fine.
Thank you for joining us. Um, Today, we've got these webinars several times a week, and we're so thankful that people choose to join us and listen to the helpful information that we provide regarding special needs planning. Today we've got Mike with us. He's helped us kind of amplify our voice today through the Misty Carroll project. So we really appreciate you, Mike. And we do have a couple slides for you. Before I get into that, I just want to let everybody know that we are in webinar mode, which means that we cannot hear you or see you. But I know that we have about 20 people out there right now, and I would love to get your questions answered. Some people sent in questions ahead of time. Some people might have questions as we're going along. So feel free to put any questions or comments that you have in the chat box, and I'll be keeping an eye on that. That's the easiest way for me to make sure I'm getting all of the information presented to you and I'm seeing the questions that come through. The other thing I want to let you know is, yes, we record all of our webinars. And after this is finished today, you're going to receive an email from us that has a link to the recording, and it will have the slides that we go through today. So you'll receive that at whatever email address you registered for this webinar with. Now, if you're catching this webinar later and maybe you want a copy of the slides and you're maybe watching on our YouTube channel or something like that, feel free to email me and I'm happy to send you a copy of the slides. My email address and cell phone number are in the chat box. You can reach out to me if you have questions going forward or if you would like to schedule a consultation with us. So, Mike, can you tell us a little bit about Misty and the Misty Carroll project and what you guys are doing out there in Wimberley?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, appreciate you having us again. It's been great partnering with you guys. That's kind of what our goal is with the Misty Carroll project. Kind of the background of it is Misty Carroll was my sister. She was born after my dad returned from Vietnam, and I know a lot of the men that came back from Vietnam were, exposed to a lot of things, Agent Orange, a lot of other things there, and there was a high rate of actual special needs children after that war. So Misty Carroll's one of them. She passed away sadly at the age of 3, a year before I was born, actually. So I had never met her. So, but our family has always had this in our hearts. My wife works with special needs. My mom has always been a part of it, and I've been kicking this theory around of starting a nonprofit to help the special needs families in the area. And one night I had a dream, and Misty Carroll came, and never seen her before. And she said, "Little brother, it's time to go to work." So that was my kickstart to it. So we really just started a grassroots effort here in the area to try to basically get as much information as we can out to families and also get them to gather together and understand they aren't alone. Try to get a voice out there to start to get them. We're going to start some parents' night out here pretty soon, which we're excited about. We're partnering with some great nonprofits in the area like the Barnabas Connection and others. So, finding people like yourself who have a passion for what you do is fantastic, and that helps us gather information because it's so difficult for people to
Yeah.
find information in any one location. It blows my mind actually how hard it is for families to find information on things. It's so spread out all over the place, and there's just no one spot. So one of our goals is to really try to become a spot for information where families could just go to, hey, I need information on this. Okay, let's
Yeah.
check with the Misty Carroll Project website, see where we need to go. So partnering with groups like yourself, that really helps us as we add more and more of your fantastic presentation. I don't know how you guys cover so much. It blows me away, but full of information on your end of it, and we gather that on our end. We try to get that in one local spot for the parents and guardians of these special needs individuals. And really, we're just trying to create a community here so that everyone knows, hey, you aren't alone. We're out there too. We're here to help. Here to link people up with whoever they need. So we've actually had several reach out, and we've kicked some your way when we found their need to. Hey, we know exactly who to talk to. So that's really what we try to do.
Thank you
We
so
try to
much
be a
for
good
that.
network.
I love that. Thank you so much for being here and for all that you do and for sharing your audience and allowing us to share you with our audience more specifically. We're always looking for resources for the families that we work with, and we really appreciate you. I've lingered on this page for a little bit so that people can copy down the information about how to get in touch with you and the Misty Carroll Project. And I really love what you do. And it's so true that there's a lot of noise out there and a lot of unknowns, and it's complicated. And there's a lot of nuances to this special needs stuff that you need to be aware of. So that's why we try so hard with these webinars and with our YouTube channel to share the information with families. And I'm glad you're out there helping us do that.
No, we appreciate being an outlet as well. Just being able to post this information has been helpful. We've already had families that have found your information through our website, so we know that it's working. So that's good.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much, Mike. Well, Consolidated Planning Group, a little bit about us and why we're even here, why you should be listening to us. We are first and foremost financial advisors. We've been doing this for over 30 years. We're located just outside of Houston in the Sugar Land area. But with Zoom and the internet, we are able to work all across Texas and all across the United States. Now, some of our webinars are focused on Texas, and some of them will help you no matter where you are in the country. This one kind of falls in between, I would say. We're going to be talking a lot about the waiver programs today. Those are state specific. However, there are waiver programs in every state. So we'll be talking about that a little bit. We are, fully licensed in insurance and securities. So we can do financial planning, investments, life insurance, disability protection, things like that. We do everything that any traditional financial advisor would do, but we do it through the lens of understanding that you have a child or a loved one in your life who has some sort of intellectual or developmental disability, and that person might not be able to live completely independently. They might not be able to hold a job that's going to pay enough to fully support themselves. So they might need your help for the rest of their lives, not just the rest of your life. So we are members of the Special Needs Planning Academy. I am a chartered special needs consultant through the American College of Financial Services, and we are national Social Security advisors. So we have taken the steps to broaden our knowledge to make sure that we understand all of those nuances related to special needs planning. And the reason that we do this isn't just because it's fun to help families like ours who have children with disabilities, but it's because you're families like ours. The owner of our company has 4 children together with her husband, and 2 of them have disabilities. I worked as a teacher and worked with children with disabilities in the schools. And so this is part of who we are as people and why it's so important to us. Almost all of the clients that we serve have an individual in their life with some kind of disability. So families come to us for things like protection plans, thinking ahead about the ifs in life. What could happen if you or your spouse passes away early or becomes disabled yourself? How are you going to protect your income and your finances from disasters like that? We look at lifetime care planning. Like I said, your child might need care for the rest of their life. So how can you leave money for them once you pass away that will be there to protect them, to take care of them? Transition planning. There are many transition periods that our kids go through, graduating from high school, maybe turning 18, that's a big transition period. What about moving out of the parents' home and into whatever their next living arrangement is going to be? And then finally, that transition period that's going to happen when the parents pass away. So there's a lot of things to prepare for and plan for. We help families with ABLE accounts and helping them understand the different state and federal benefits that are available and how you can make sure that you keep those benefits and don't do anything to jeopardize them. And then finally, we're here to educate and to advocate for you. In the entire United States, there are over 263,000 financial advisors, but they are not all created equal. Only about 200 out of that 363,000 focus on special needs planning the way that we do. So yes, it's hard to find those resources that you need and to know, does this person that I'm listening to really know what they're talking about? Or are they going to cause more trouble because they're just guessing? We are truly experts in this area because we live it and breathe it and study it day and night. This is who we are. So I appreciate you being here and putting your faith in us as a company that can provide answers and give you this information. So today we're really going to focus this webinar on the Medicaid waiver programs. We're going to talk a bit about SSI eligibility. SSI stands for Supplemental Security Income, and how to preserve those benefits so that you don't lose them for your child. So I do have questions that were sent in ahead of time, and I'm going to try to make sure I work those into the webinar today. But I'm also, like I said, I'm looking forward to hearing the questions that you have and seeing those come up in the chat box. So please feel free to share those questions or comments as we're going through this presentation today. I'm just using my phone to pull up the questions that we received earlier so I can try to make sure not to miss any of those. Okay, so without any further ado, let's get into some of the most popular waiver programs for individuals with disabilities. There are, I think, 109 different Medicaid waiver programs for the state, but these are the ones that really focus on helping individuals with disabilities. There's CLASS, which is Community Living Assistance and Support Services. DBMD is for people who are deaf and blind and have multiple disabilities. HCS, Home and Community-Based Services. There's Texas Home Living, which is abbreviated TXHML. MDCP. Now, this waiver is meant for medically dependent children, and you have to show that they're fragile medically to be able to get that one. STAR Plus is for individuals who are medically dependent, but they're 21 and over. There's YES. The YES program is Youth Empowerment Services. This one's a little bit different, and so is Community First Choice. So we're going to talk about these really 8 different core programs that are the best suited for the families that we work with. Now, here in Texas, the waiting list for these waiver programs can be very long. It kind of depends on which program you're looking at. So, for example, some of the programs like CLASS. Let's look at the description for the CLASS waiver here. It gives home and community-based supports to children and adults with related conditions. So related conditions, that's your diagnosis. There are over 200 different related conditions that they consider for this program. It can be cerebral palsy, spina bifida, autism, combinations of different things, deafness, blindness, intellectual disabilities, all of those things. Whatever your related condition is, has to have begun before you turn 22 years old to be able to get class. So think about this. Class serves anyone up to age 22, well, anyone whose disability started before age 22. It supports children and adults with any of these 200 conditions. That's a lot of people. And here in the state of Texas, the funding comes a little bit slowly. So with class serving so many people, there are a lot of people on this waiting list. And the waiting list for class, I'm so sorry to tell you this, is between 17 to 20 years right now. I know. Now, if you think about some of the other programs, like the next one on this list, DBMD. DBMD is for people who are deaf and blind and have another disability or another related condition. So as you can imagine, there are not that many people who have all three of those criteria. So if you have deaf and blind and another disability, you get to be on this list, but there are way fewer people. So it's a much shorter list. And the DBMD waiver, their waiting list is way shorter, like a year, maybe 2 years. But you do have to have a condition that either is leading to deaf and blindness or your individual is already deaf and blind. Home and community-based services. This one is a big one. We kind of consider this the Cadillac of the waiver programs because they have very deep pockets in the HCS waiver program. It can help children and adults with intellectual disabilities or related conditions. It helps people stay in their own homes or their family homes or small group homes where there's no more than 4 people. It can even help pay for the living situation as long as there's no more than 4 people in your group home. MDCP, again, is for medically dependent children. You have to be medically fragile in order to get this one. Again, the list is shorter for MDCP, and it's really to help people stay at home rather than having to go into a state-funded nursing facility. That's really what all of these waivers are trying to focus on, is to provide you with support in your own homes, in your own communities, so that people don't have to rely so much on state run nursing homes. So if a child is on MDCP, that is for people who are 20 and younger. When they hit age 21, they're able to switch over to Star Plus, which is 21 and up people who are medically dependent. The services on the Star Plus waiver are through a managed care organization. And the list, again, is not very long. So if your loved one is 21 or up, you'll be looking at Star Plus. Texas Home Living. It's another big one. They serve all kinds of people with any kind of related condition and intellectual disabilities, whether they're in their own home or their family's home, no matter what age. So again, a long waiting list. Yes, now this program, I mentioned this one is a little different. This is for children under age 19 who have serious mental, emotional, or behavioral difficulties. Now, they might also have a related condition, but this has to be where the mental condition is like their main diagnosis. When your child goes on this waiting list, It's usually not a long wait at all, or sometimes there's no waiting. So it's very beneficial. But yeah, they have to be 19 or under. And then finally, community first choice. Again, we're trying to keep people in their own communities. And this is an entitlement program. It's a little bit different. The list is usually shorter. They help with activities of daily living, providing health-related hands-on queuing, assistance, supervision, things like that. The services are offered through a managed care organization, which you do sometimes see. It may be difficult to find supports in your area. So this is an overview of all of the waiver lists available. Thank you so much, Shelley, for joining us and for putting your information in the chat box. So some of the services that are available through these waiver programs, all of them will help provide adaptive aids. You can use it to pay for financial management services, like that's what we do. Supported employment and employment assistance. You can do minor home modifications. They usually, that is usually limited to a $7,500 benefit, and it's only allowed one time. So if you're going to make home modifications, you should make sure it's in your home that you're going to be staying in for a very long time. Waiver programs can also help pay for respite care. Now, all of those waiver services, except for MDCP, will pay for things in the blue bubble. And the reason MDCP doesn't is because Children's Medicaid already covers these items. That would be things like professional therapies, any kinds of therapies your child might need, including occupational, physical, music therapy, art therapy, massage, equine therapy. All of that would be included. Unlimited prescriptions. Dental care. Dental care is usually $2,000 per year. And then nursing hours as well would be covered by the waiver programs. Now, some of the waiver services offer additional benefits like transportation. If your child needs a ride to child or adult child needs a ride to a doctor's appointment, maybe, or maybe they need a ride to their work. It can help pay for those things. They can pay for residential services, different therapies, again, day hab programs and ISS and nursing hours. So I just want to go over the general waiver eligibility. So most of these programs, as long as you have a disability that started before age 22, you're going to be covered. MDCP, again, remember that is for 20 and below, age 20 and below. And then they would switch over to Star Plus when they turn 21. And then Yes also has the limit on age. It's age 18 and below. For financial eligibility, all of the waivers except for Texas Home Living have a limit that you cannot be earning more than 300% of the SSI benefit. So this year that amount is $2,901. If your loved one is earning more than $2,901 per month, then they would miss out on those Medicaid-backed waivers. It does not look at the parent's income. It only looks at the individual with the disability and what they make each month. So if you make more than $2,901, you're not going to be able to qualify. And of course, other than the age requirements and the financial eligibility, you do have to make sure that you qualify with the functional eligibility criteria of that specific waiver. For example, medically dependent, deafblind, those sorts of things. Now, when you put your name or your child's name or your individual loved one's name on the list for these waiver programs, You don't necessarily have to prove that they qualify when you put their name on the list. You don't have to do that until their name comes up on the list, and then you'll have to speak with the program, speak with a coordinator, and tell them exactly why you qualify and provide proof of eligibility. Okay, so this is particularly important for things like um, maybe right now your child has the beginnings of a disability, or maybe they were just diagnosed. You want to go ahead and get them on the list, even if you don't know what they're going to end up doing 20 years from now. Maybe they'll be just fine. Maybe they're going to have more significant needs than you think. But who knows how they're going to grow and develop. So go ahead and put them on the list if there's any inkling that there could be a disability there, because you don't have to prove it generally until later. So there are two different paths for these waiver programs. First is the interest list or the wait list. So if you're getting on the waiver program through the waiting list, it's a first come, first served list that is statewide. That wait, like I said, it can be as long as 17 to 20 years. When I first started in financial services and helping families with special needs planning, we used to say 13 to 15 years. Now, then it went to 15 to 17. Now they're saying 17 to 20 years for these services. Some states don't have any wait list at all. Some states you could move there tomorrow and sign up and get benefits for your children. Other states have very short waiting lists. Maybe it's under 5 years. But here in Texas, unfortunately, like I said, there is not a lot of funding for these programs. And I want to let you know, this is not a political statement, and I'm not, saying whether I'm for or against or condoning or not condoning this. But what we have seen is that many states that legalize marijuana use that tax revenue to help pay for these programs for disabled children. So if you're looking at which state might have a shorter wait list, I would suggest that Google is your friend. And if you look specifically at states that have legalized marijuana, many of them have shorter waiting lists. Now, the other way to get a waiver program is through their goal of promoting independence. And that is keeping people out of state-run nursing homes and nursing facilities. So it can either prevent you from going into an institution, like a crisis situation, or if you're already in some kind of state institution or nursing home, what they can do is provide assessments for people and see if they would be better served outside or equally served outside of the nursing home. So let's look at these two different paths and how they work. First of all, that interest or wait list. You want to get in touch with your local intellectual and developmental disability authority. Some people call it LIDA. Some people think it might be pronounced LIDA. Some people just call it your local authority. So every county has a LIDA that they're under. And that local authority, it might be the Harris Center or Bluebonnet or Tri-County, MHMR. You might have heard of some of those things, ACOG. Those are your local authorities. And all over the state, each county is served under a different local authority. So if you're interested in these waiver programs, you definitely want to get in touch with your local authority. Now, for MDCP class and DBMD, there's a phone number that you can call. It's this 877 number at the top of the page. And even though your family member might not qualify for MDCP or DBMD, I've already told you that class serves almost everybody. So you should probably call that phone number if your child has any kind of disability, not just MDCP or DBMD. Now, HCS, Texas Home Living, and Community First Choice, those are through your LIDA. You're going to contact your local authority. If you don't know who they are, you can use this link. This link will be clickable later on when you receive these slides, or you can just Google the information. You can go talk to your local authority, whoever it may be, Texana, Harris Center, Gulf Coast, whatever, and get on the waiting list through them. Now for Star Plus, remember that is medically dependent people who are 21 and above. They have a different phone number. So if your loved one is age 21 or above, you want to call that phone number. Now it used to be that this was the only way to get on the waiting list for these waiver programs. You had to call the number, you would talk to somebody and they would take your loved one's name and information, and maybe in the future you would hear back from them. And people felt very much like, I called and I talked to them and I put my name on the list. I hope I did everything. So it felt a little bit weird, right? Because these days we do everything online. Well, they finally did move the wait list information online. And so now you really don't have to go this route and make these phone calls and speak with your LIDA to get onto the wait list. Now you can use a website. And we were so excited that you can look online to figure out where your child is on the wait list, and you can even sign up and all of that. So what you're going to do is go to yourtexasbenefits.com. I'm going to put it in the chat box. I have to stop talking because I can't do both at once. Okay, there you go. So you're going to go to yourtexasbenefits.com. You want to either log in or create an account. This account should be under your loved one's name, not yours. They're the one who you're getting benefits for, right? So create an account in your loved one's name. Then up here in the banner, this circle is kind of in the wrong spot, but you'll see the word manage. Click manage and then click interest list manager. Once you click interest list manager, you're going to get a screen that shows you the name and the interest list ID number for your loved one. You click view details, and that will take you to a page that looks like this. You're going to see what interest list you are on, and you're going to see, your number 82,000 out of 85,000, or whatever the case may be in your situation. You can also join other interest lists if you need to, or you can check into the different programs and who they serve and what they are. Now, if you go to this page and you don't see a list that you think you should be on, you can click join interest lists and join those, or you can go back to calling the phone number or calling your local authority to double check with them. Now, what you want to know is that if you move within the state of Texas, you're not going to lose your place in line, but you do want to let your new local authority know that you're in the area. And again, you can go Google who the new authority is for that county, or you can use this link to go to the website where you can pull that up. Okay, I don't see any questions yet, but so I'm going to keep on going. Thank you so much for putting your questions and comments in the chat box. So I mentioned that the other way to get on the waiver waiting list on the waiver programs besides the waiting list is through their effort to promote independence. So if you're in a crisis mode and you are in such a crisis that you're thinking that the only way to survive or the only way to move forward is to put your loved one into state care. That's where they're going to jump in and give you a crisis diversion spot for the HCS waiver. Basically, what this does is it's going to push you to the front of the waiting list because you need it. It's not a time to be brave and to sugarcoat things and, oh, we got this. I'm super mom. I can do it. No, this is the time to call your local authority and tell them we need help and we need it right away. Please help us. You have to stay involved in the process, but they're going to work with you. And this is for things, I mean, honestly, we hope you never need it. But let's say maybe you or your spouse become disabled or pass away, and now you're taking care of your spouse and your disabled child, or you're taking care of your child alone with one income or no income now that your spouse has died. Maybe your child is deteriorating and they're threatening to harm themselves or harm others, or they're running away. Maybe, your parent becomes disabled and has to move in with you. And now the crisis is that you're having to take care of your parent and your child full time, and it's just too much. You can't handle it. These are the kinds of things that they're looking for to give out those crisis diversion spots. The other promoting independence path has to do with state nursing homes and facilities. So if you are putting your loved one into a state-run facility or nursing home, they are supposed to do pre-admission screening, where they're going to look at your specific situation and your specific case and see if maybe your loved one would be better served in their own home or community. Remember, home and community-based services. So if they can provide services in the home or community that are going to be able to help your loved one, they would much rather do that than put them into a state-run facility. And I would think that most people would want that for their loved one as well. Now, the other way would be a resident review. If an individual is already in a facility or a nursing home of some kind, they are supposed to be doing ongoing reviews with those people to, again, see if it would be better for them to move out into the community. So there are the two promoting independence ways that you can get the the waiver programs. So I see Mallory has a question in the chat box. How is the dependent's child income calculated if they don't work and they're school age? So income is calculated different ways for different programs. Generally, if your individual is under age 18, it really doesn't matter because they're going to look at the parent's income and assets for SSI and Medicaid. Now, they're not going to look at the parents' income and assets for these waiver programs, and as I mentioned, they're allowed to earn up to $2,901 a month and still get the waiver program. If your child is working more than that, then they're really showing that the Medicaid is going to say they're not really disabled. If they can make more than $2,900 a month, they're not really that disabled. So they feel that they don't need to provide services. The child. Now, again, they usually do not look at the parent's income for waiver programs, or if the child is 18 or above. If the child is 18 or above, they only look at the children, the individual's income and assets. So some of the things you want to think about is, working with a professional who truly understands the nuances of special needs planning. And you want to make sure also that you not only work with a special needs financial planner, but a special needs focused attorney, because there are some legal issues that you're going to need to take care of. And not every attorney is going to understand. Not every attorney is created equal, just like financial advisors. Maybe your aunt is a great divorce attorney and she offers to do this for you for no charge. Well, that would be great. But if your aunt truly doesn't understand how guardianship works, it's not going to be very helpful to you. Or if she doesn't understand what a special needs trust needs to have, again, you might end up spending more money fixing errors than doing it correctly in the first place. So talk to experts, just like you want to talk to a doctor who understands. You want to talk to other experts who understand. Gather together all of the plans and the things that you already have in place. Look at your legal documents. Look at your financial records, your life insurance, your investments. What do you currently have and what are you going to have, left to your family when you pass away? Are there any inheritances, anything like that that you should be thinking about that are going to help your loved one? So gather together the documents that you currently have and go through them. Don't just set it and forget it and leave it in a drawer somewhere and forget what you have. Often we see people, throughout their lives, people change jobs, usually 7 or 8 times. So if you have an old 401k out there, for example, and you've left that job, but that money's just sitting there, put it to use for yourself. Um, think about developing a letter of intent. That is very important because you know more about your child than anyone else on the planet does. And a letter of intent will help you put that knowledge to writing and be able to leave that written document somewhere for the next person who is going to have to step in and take care of your child. So, for example, you might want to list their diagnoses, their doctors, the future plans that you already have in place for them, but also, their functional abilities, their idiosyncrasies. What do they love? What do they hate? What can you do for them when they're having a horrible, very bad, no good day to turn that around? Those kinds of things would be nice to put into a letter of intent. Now we do a complete webinar just about that, but you can look on our YouTube channel for more about that. And we really want you to think about your future and what you want it to look like for you, as well as for your loved one. How do you want their future to look? So let me get to this question. Robert wants to know, if both parents have passed on and the young adult has no guardians, then what happens? Well, there are options. So, maybe both parents pass away. Hopefully they have a will or some kind of planning in place. But if truly there's nothing, the courts will generally look for a sibling or a relative who would be willing to care for the loved one. And if there is not, they might look for a foster type of situation or a host home or a state-run residential type of community or nursing home. So you do really want to think about that and think about who can help out if that situation arises. We try to encourage people to make sure that you have plans in place before that situation does come about and set aside funding for your loved one to be taken care of. Even if a sibling or someone is going to be able to step in and willing to step in to take care of your individual, they're still going to need some financial help, right? Because they're going to be helping this person, and it's not free. So how will you fund that future care? Wow, that flowed right into that perfectly, didn't it? So there are all of these state and federal programs that are going to help pay for your child's future care. That would be like SSI and Social Security. So many children don't qualify for SSI before they turn 18 because, as we were just talking about, the state will look at the parent's income and assets. But when your loved one turns 18, the state and the Medicaid programs, Social Security, whatever you want to say, is going to look at their own income and their own assets. And as long as they're not making more than the substantial gainful amount, which this year is $1,620 a month, and as long as they don't have more than $2,000 in the bank, they're allowed to have one car and they're allowed to have one house. As long as they fit those criteria. And the last criteria is that they must be deemed disabled in the eyes of Social Security. Then they're going to be able to get their SSI money. SSI comes with Medicaid, and again, typically starts at age 18. This year, the monthly payment for SSI is $967 a month. Now, you could also want to have a special needs trust set up. That's where your life insurance, your investments, your assets can flow into the special needs trust for the benefit of your loved one. The funds that go into the special needs trust will not count against their asset limit for SSI or Medicaid or any of those programs. So the other place that your child can have money saved up would be in an ABLE account. An ABLE account it's a 529A, A for ABLE. You can use this money to pay for anything that will help your child achieve a better life experience. You can put in $19,000 for this year. Every year they change that number a little bit. This year it's 19,000, but you never want your ABLE account to go above 100,000 total. So let's say you put in $19,000 this year, and for the next 5 years you put in $19,000, you're riding awfully close to that $100,000 limit. The ABLE accounts do have an investment vehicle with them. So as that money gets invested and it grows, the income from those investments are not taxed. But you need to be careful, because if you're close to $100,000 and your investment income pushes you over the limit, you could be in jeopardy of losing those benefits. So be careful. But again, the ABLE account does not count against their asset limits. So that would be a good place for you to have money for your children. The disability has to have begun before age 26 for the ABLE account. At the end of this year, that number is going to go up to 46. So if you've missed the cutoff, just wait until next year. Now, if your individual is working, they can put in more than the $19,000, up to $15,560, but not more than what they earn at work. Okay. No more questions on ABLE accounts. Perfect. Okay. I only have a few more slides left, so if you have any questions, please get them out there for me. So things to keep on your radar when it comes to thinking about the future for your loved ones. How much is that future care really going to cost? Do they need full-time care? Do they need an attendant or a nurse to check in on them a couple times a week? What level are we talking here? And what is that going to cost in the future? We can help you figure that out. We can put together a complete, comprehensive special needs plan for you to help you think about the financials, the resources available to give you guidance and advice on all of this. Make sure you're on those interest lists, those waiting lists for the waiver programs. SSI, again, when your child turns 18, they're probably going to qualify for SSI, and they might not qualify before age 18 based on how much money you make, how much the parents make. Later on in life, when you as parents turn on your Social Security retirement benefits, your child will switch from the SSI benefit to SSDI. SSDI is often also called DAC, Disabled Adult Child Benefits, or CDB, Childhood Disability Benefits. Sometimes they call them survivors benefits, but regardless, when you turn on your Social Security, or if you pass away or become disabled, your child will be able to draw a benefit from your work record, especially if they can't work. And at that point, they're going to get that benefit for the rest of their lives. So it's important that you maximize those benefits. ABLE accounts, I've talked about that, and I mentioned that we can help set those up with you. Beneficiary designations are extremely important, because if you leave any money straight to your child, then all of a sudden they're going to be above that very important asset limit, and they're not going to be able to get those benefits anymore. However, if you make the beneficiary the special needs trust for the benefit of this person, then it's no longer their money and it will not count against them anymore. So you do need a special needs trust, and you need to make sure that your beneficiary designations are set up correctly. As for the special needs trust, you do need an attorney to set that up for you, but we can help you understand how to fund it and how much money needs to go in there. There is a caveat with child support. In the special needs community, child support is very common because the divorce rate is a lot higher. And if child support goes beyond age 18, which it very often can, with our loved ones, you're going to want that child support to go to a trust. It's important. If it doesn't, it will be considered income for your child and they will lose out on benefits. Real quick, I see a question in the chat box. Will wants to just double check that you're going to get a copy of the recording. Yes, you'll get the recording and you'll get a link. You'll get a link to the recording and you'll get the slides. All right, so residential living communities. There are many, many great communities all across the United States. Some of them are more expensive, some of them are less expensive, some of them provide nursing, some of them don't. There's all kinds of options. So check into those and start touring those communities and programs early, because you want to get a good feel for what you're getting yourself and your loved one into. And you want to help the transition go smoothly. So you want to allow your loved one to tour these places and make sure that it's going to be a good fit for all of you, and get them used to the idea, hopefully long before that transition actually occurs. And the other thing to know about these programs and living communities, they might have wait lists. Even if it's a day program, there could be a wait list, and you need to make sure that you know that, so that you don't get all excited and, oh, we're going to move next week, and then you find that perfect place and you're ready to move, and then you find out that they have a 5-year wait. That would not be good. So tour those residential communities and check out whether or not they have waiting lists. Think about the legal side. Guardianship. Partial guardianship is an option. We've done webinars about that. If you don't need full guardianship, there are alternatives. You could have a power of attorney, healthcare power of attorney, or even supported decision-making. And then finally, think about what's going to happen after high school. You don't necessarily want your child just to graduate from high school and go sit on the couch and play video games, right? There are many, many fantastic educational options for our loved ones. There are those residential options and transition programs. day programs, and there are vocational options where they can learn about how to work and how to get a job and get those job assistance programs and job coaching programs as well. I see another question. Well, thank you, Mallory, for the kind words. And then Carla wants to know if you have guardianship and have named someone in your will to take over, a successor guardian, do they automatically become the guardian upon your death, or do they have to apply for guardianship? Great question, Carla. And I think that one is just a little reach outside of my purview because as the financial advisors, we do understand and we can talk to you about guardianship and help you understand, but we are not attorneys. And that one goes a little bit into attorney territory for me. So what I will tell you is that we do have webinars that are completely about guardianship. You can look on our YouTube channel for that. I happen to know that you already have an appointment set up with me. So after we talk, I'd be happy to send you a link to the webinar about guardianship. Speaking of which, you can use this link to go to our upcoming webinars. And that way you can pre-register for the webinars that we have coming up if you see something that you're interested in. That way you will get reminders, but you will also automatically receive the email after we host the webinar, where you will get the link and the slides. And even if you can't attend, you'll be able to get that information. This is the team at Consolidated Planning Group. There are 4 financial advisors who work together as a collaborative team on every single file. So every client that we have gets 4 financial advisors working for them, not just one. And again, this is truly in our hearts. Almost every single client has an individual in their life with a difference. And we're here to help in that situation. So as I wrap up, I'm going to get the last of the questions as I leave this page up, because I would love for you to make your appointment for your free Zoom consultation. I see people in the chat box who have already had their free consultation, and hopefully they can attest to the fact that we don't bite. Hopefully we don't put too much pressure on you or anything like that. We truly want to answer your questions first, learn about your loved one and your family, and give you some helpful tips and advice. And then we go into what we do as a company and how we can help you and your family, what we charge and how we work. So you can use the QR code or call or email the office to get that set up. Or you can call or email me directly and I can set up your appointment for you. These are on Zoom, so they're usually 30 to 45 minutes. And again, we do not pressure you. We do not have a lot of expectations, except that we expect to answer your questions. So as I go through these last questions I see in the chat box, I'm going to leave this up for you. How do I calculate earnings for SSDI when the paycheck includes 2 months? I know SSI is the month paid, but SSDI is the month earned. Well, the good news is that once your child is on SSDI, you don't really need to worry about how much they earn in income each month. The only reason you would need to still worry about that is for their Medicaid waiver program. And in that case, they just cannot make more than $2,901. But SSDI does not take the income into consideration. Okay. Does that make sense for you, Randy? I hope. And Julio wants to know, how do you find out about these programs to keep them more active? Well, we try very hard to keep our community notified by doing webinars like this. We often do panel webinars where maybe we'll have representatives from a bunch of different summer camps or educational programs or residential programs come in, and we kind of host it like a speed dating event where they tell you who they are, where they are, who they serve, a general idea of what they cost, and you can get in touch with them through us. Now, for our clients, we collect all of this information and put together lists and spreadsheets, and we provide those to you if you do a plan with us. So overall, we try to put together the information for our clients and make that available to them. If you don't want to work with us or it's just not feasible for you to work with us, we completely understand that. And that's why we give away so much free information. It's just a little bit more difficult because you have to go find it on our YouTube channel or ask us directly how we can help you. So again, please schedule your free Zoom consultation. Call or email me. I'm going to get my stuff in the chat box one more time so everyone can write down my email address and send me a note. And if there's anything that you can think of, any questions that you have, any way that we can help you, we are here. I hope you have a fantastic week and that you've picked up something useful in today's webinar. If there's I don't see any other questions in the chat box. So goodbye for now. Again, thank you so much for joining us and for spending the hour with us. Mike, always great to see you. Thank you for spreading the word. And I hope everyone has a fantastic week. Bye now. Bye, everybody.